opening drive, and we motion in row and run the flex play from the pistol. Notice that Barrett Matthews started the game here and makes a great seal on the defensive end. And Whitaker is able to pick up a good gain here. Sort of submarine one of our poolers, David Snow, but Espinoza is still able to get to the edge, and Whitaker is able to get to the open and pick up a nice little gain on first down. So second play, we come out in 4 wide. We made it as the last play. We were in 21 personnel, and Oklahoma State sort of had 6 in the box with 1 kind of near the edges of the box. Here they've got 5 clearly in the box with, really both of these players on the outside kind of playing on the edge. So we've got kind of 6 box players total. But they definitely looked at the Oklahoma game, kind of said, we want to take away the edges in the formation. So here that's what they're clearly trying to do, is take away the edges in the formation with these 2 players kind of in the gray area. We respond in this formation by running the power read. And the thing about that play is when you run power read, you're releasing this defensive end. That gives you a 5-on-5 in the blocking and gives you a 2-on-1 with these 2 players on the defensive end. I like this particular instance of power read that we ran. It almost looks like a draw play where we just sort of pivot our whole blocking in the line, rotate with a puller, and that gives us kind of a lead block. Here the defensive end doesn't commit to the quarterback, so Ash keeps it, and the goal of this play is to create a lane of running for him right between Cochran here and Snow, who's the puller. Cochran loses control of his block, which you can kind of see happen back a few frames here. And he's really supposed to seal here. His blocker gets play side of him, and that causes Ash to cut back inside. That allows this backside player to come over and make the play. But you can see if this goes in the... And really, Ash should have still chosen this outside running lane. But if he runs out here, then this tackler has less of a chance of getting to him. And probably he picks up about 6 or 7 more yards. So the next play we come back in 21 personnel. You can see initially that Oklahoma State is just declaring 5 in the box, but then bringing edge pressure. So we audible and check into a better play. If you're looking for a tangible improvement from Oklahoma to Oklahoma State, this is probably the most visible one, was our willingness to be a little bit patient, make sure we're getting in a decent call, and avoiding any bad calls. And for the most part, we did that against Oklahoma State. You can see they brought late pressure from the corner and brought this outside linebacker off the edge. And they're doing that to the wide side of the field. This is the exact call that gave us trouble a number of times against Oklahoma and resulted in some big losses. So, we get out of that call here. We're running the ISO play here. And we lose this backside hinge block. Hopkins isn't able to get the defensive end controlled, and he comes straight down the line, gets in the gap, and makes the play on Malcolm Brown. It's actually a harder play to make than you would think. If you just watch this hinge block again, Hopkins needs to kind of pay attention to what the defensive end's initial move is. If he is crashing inside, then Hopkins needs to take away the space between him and Espinoza first, and then hinge back. If the defensive end takes an outside tack, then he needs to kind of drop as if he's in pass blocking and keep him from penetrating in the play. So it's actually a fairly difficult block to make. You see it diagrammed, it looks like it would be easy, but it can be really difficult. So he comes down the line and disrupts this play. Other than that, the blocking on this play is really pretty good. Notice in particular that we get great displacement on the defensive tackle here, pushing him down a few yards, and then Walters is able to pull through, and Johnson makes a great block there, a great lead block. So if we had been able to get any control of that defensive end, we spring Malcolm Brown to the second level pretty quickly there. First play the second drive here, and we run a little package play. We motion across the formation with with Goodwin, and it gives us kind of a triangle look over here. What we're reading is the defense in man or zone. They're showing zone here, and so we throw the little wide receiver screen. But you can see that if we read this play the other way, we have inside zone blocking happening right here. So if this had been man and they commit a box player out to cover the motion, then we end up with a 5-on-5 with our blockers on their box personnel. We get Malcolm Brown in the inside zone. If not, then we end up with a man advantage out on the edge like we do here. Throw the wide receiver screen, get 2-on-2 and space, and pick up an easy chunk on first down. Let's come back out in 3 wide, and we trade our tight end here. You see they swap their defensive tackles. They can avoid moving their 1 tech out to a 3 tech. Sometimes you can force teams into playing their defensive tackles out of position by doing a trade like that. But they swap their defensive tackles. And then we run the power play here. We kind of run the power. It's kind of like hinge blocking the way we run it across the line. We give ground on the backside of the play, and then clear out with our lead blocker. Malcolm Brown this time finds a great running lane and picks up a big game right up the middle of their defense. Again, they're kind of going short on us in box personnel. You can see here that they do have 5 in the box, but they're playing the edges of the box, and so there are lanes available right up the middle of the defense, and we're starting to take advantage of that. Early in this game, we really found great running lanes, and really throughout the game we found great running lanes. We got caught a few times on first down, and that killed drives. So we come back into a tight end trade again here, and what we're trying to do is pull their box personnel to the short side of the field, and hopefully that opens up these lanes right up the middle of their defense. We motion Monroe and fake the jet sweep here and run inside zone. The key block to watch on this play is this block between Walters and the 3 tech. Walters wants to get his hat to the left side of this 3 tech, but the 3 tech kind of takes control of this block. And then, because he's got control of it, he's able to push Walters off the block, free himself, and then pressure Brown on the play. The reason why that's a key block is that's what Brown is initially reading in terms of whether he wants to take this play side or backside. Because this 3 tech is to the inside of Walters, then Brown is going to choose to take it outside of him. If Walters controls that block, then most likely this play ends up going to the backside. You can see Johnson makes a nice block on the backside here, and that might have been a good running lane for us, is to try to take this backside outside of the defensive end. But just as a side note, Johnson's blocking has really picked up in the last few games, and he's really making huge strides as a fullback. So that's really encouraging to see going forward into this last phase in the season. So Brown takes this play side. We're not able to control the defensive end. He squeezes the gap, and then they're able to make the play after just a few yards here. So we go empty here, and then motion Monroe back into the protection. You can see Oklahoma State is bringing edge pressure again to the field side of the field. And This is exactly the sort of pressure that Oklahoma really killed us with and got some huge tackles for loss. This game we were prepared in our game plan. Come out with a called quick pass here. You can see if they had decided to bring edge pressure from both the field side and the bench side, then we would have had this little outlet pass available to Monroe. Instead, we're able to throw this little underneath route to Davis into the pocket that's created by their blitzing personnel, and we pick up an easy first down. So a huge difference in our game plans and our ability to deal with pressure between these two games. We showed a lot of growth. So again, use this bench side trade with Grant, and then we're going to motion Monroe out, force Oklahoma State to widen their backside box personnel here. The idea here, we're running flex, so by doing that, we've created a distinct numbers advantage on these play side personnel in the box. What goes wrong with this play is that Hopkins misses his pin block on the play side. And in our talking about the flex before, we know that these pin blocks on the play side are really the key to the play. If you can get those pin blocks, then your pullers are going to have the advantage, and you're going to get your ball carrier to the edge. Here, though, Nicholas, who, again, they're 3-tech, he's probably the quickest player in their front, beats Hopkins' block. That puts him in the backfield. The pullers are not able to account for him. Whereas if the defensive end beats the pin, they're oftentimes able to pick him up as they pull. But if that tackle wins his battle, then you've got a free defender in the backfield with no one who can pick him up. The play is basically dead, and that's what happens here. This is the sort of stuff that really needs to get cleared up in terms of a missed assignment like that, a key missed assignment, for us to kind of take the next step forward in the run game. You know, when we do take losses on first down, then that's going to put us in obvious passing downs, and that's where our offense is somewhat vulnerable right now with our young quarterbacks and our offensive line personnel. And that's what happens here. You know, we get put in an obvious passing situation. The defense drops into zones and is able to give us trouble. Ash doesn't come off his primary read here. He tries to force the ball to Shipley, and that's an issue for us right now. You know, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State definitely made a conscious decision to try to take Shipley away in the passing game, and we've got to go to other options and get off that primary read in those situations. On the wide side of this play, we've got a great inside out on the spot defender between Johnson and Goodwin, and so that would have been an easy read to make if he comes to this wide side over here. Then he forces the slot defender to make a commitment, and he can either throw the first down here, or he can throw to the flat if this flat defender drops the seam on the seam. So either way, that's a viable play, but throwing into the double coverage, definitely kill us every time. I don't think it was a case of him not seeing this middle linebacker drop. I think it was a case of him thinking he could make this throw. And so that's kind of concerning. You'd like to see your quarterback not forcing the ball. But we'll have to see if that's something that changes for David Ash, or if that's something that continues to give him trouble going forward. This is toward the end of the first quarter now. We run the companion play to the play we ran earlier with the inside zone. Now we run the actual jet sweep to Monroe. You may have noticed in this game that they were playing quite a bit of soft coverage with their corners, and that makes them ripe for this sort of edge run. And as you can see here, that cushion is what leads to a big gain for Monroe. One nice thing about Monroe is that his speed allows him to outrun even if you've got a blitzer on that play side. A lot of times he can outrun it. So you get a nice pickup there on first down. So the very next play, we come back again with jet action. This time we fake the jet and we hand off to Brown. Notice this key block that we talked about earlier. This time we get the helmet placement that we want. And that really gets us to what I believe is the heart of this series of runs, which is the cutback run on the inside zone. You can see we don't even get a good block on the defensive end. Cochran does a nice job of getting to this linebacker and creating a little bit of a lane. But it doesn't even matter because we get such good seals on all of our blocks here on the inside zone and get good displacement coming across the line that Brown's able to exploit the defense right up this seam. And that's really the ultimate goal of this pressure of the jet action is, one, to kind of force a inside-out decision from these backside personnel on the inside zone. So they have to be primarily concerned with the jet sweep and then try to come back inside to make the play on a cutback like this. So to me, this is the most dangerous part of this series. You can see Brown gets the second level here and gets wrapped to go to the defense and almost takes this all the way for a touchdown. So in the third quarter, we come back to the well one more time on this series, and this time we run the jet sweep again to Monroe and get a huge pickup on the play. This series was really working great for us. Oklahoma State didn't really have an answer on that backside of the play, so they couldn't handle the threat of the inside zone cutback and the sweep. It's a play I wish we would have gone to more in the second half because they didn't really seem to be able to deal with it. So next play, we take a shot deep, and I feel like this is the area in the passing game that actually was trouble for us against Oklahoma State. Our quick game really grew a lot, and you can tell that we put some work into that in the week between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State with Ash. But our deep game didn't pan out very much in this game, and we need to be able to capitalize deep on the opportunities that we create. Here we created basically a one-on-one deep. There's no middle safety support. So we do draw a pass interference on this play, which does move the ball. But you'd like to see Ash lead Goodwin inside on a play like that, where there's no deep middle safety. If he does that, that's a touchdown for sure, because there's no way this corner can keep Goodwin away from breaking on the ball inside. So if he throws this ball more toward the seam rather than the corner, then Goodwin can probably make the play on the ball and take advantage of that one-on-one matchup we're getting. So then we follow that up with the Statue of Liberty play, and I just wanted to show on this play how great the downfield blocking was. This is a nice cut by Snow and an appropriate cut. But what's great is the downfield blocking that we get here. And Cochran and Espinoza in particular do a great job. They kept their heads downfield, kept moving down the field, disrupted defensive players down the field, and trusted their running back to make a play. I think that's huge in terms of what we need more from our offensive linemen when they get in space. I was really impressed with Cochran in space in this game. He didn't, very few whiffs. He had a few blocks that he lost control of. But he always made contact, always disrupted, and he keeps moving downfield. And so that's great for a player, starting his first game, and hopefully a sign of good things to come. Next drive, we open up in big personnel and trade our strength here. You can see that Oklahoma State brings a safety down to cover that vertical threat from Grant. I did want to point out here, we're in big personnel, and Oklahoma State only has 7 in the box. So we're outnumbering them in the box, and that continued to be the case throughout the game. Sometimes they would match numbers with us in the box, but we were never outnumbered in a box. And so I found it interesting in the post-game when Harsin talked about one of the reasons that we got away from the run was that Oklahoma was bringing numbers to the box, and I didn't really see that on film. I felt like we could have continued to run throughout the game. Now, that said, I do think that us getting Ash some experience running a pure passing offense was good, but I think our identity needs to be through the run game, and I thought it was a shame that we got away from that in the fourth quarter. You can see here the toss play worked despite them bringing a safety down a little bit there, we were able to get the corner and get a big pickup on first down. Here's an interesting play toward the end of the third quarter. We go four wide with trips, and we motion across to create a 2-by-2. What's interesting about this play is when it kind of looks like power read, except for we're actually running a trap here with our guard instead of the pull and lead. The other thing that's interesting is I don't think this is a true read play. I think it's just a fake to the quarterback trap. You can see the defensive end crashes here. So if it were a read play, he'd be handing off. And he's clearly not reading the outside linebacker here. So I think it's just a play fake to the quarterback trap. It would work here if we get this trap executed. Then we at least get this running lane here, although you've got a linebacker sitting in the hole waiting for you. So in this case, this play just didn't work out. But it is an interesting wrinkle to think about. In addition to the power read, it's a nice wrinkle that fits with that play. We open the fourth quarter in the Wildcat on a critical third down. We've really grown to trust Fozzie as a decision maker. And we run power here. See Dominique Jones does a great job of the defensive ends crashing here, and he just seals him inside and really creates a huge gash in the defense there. They've got a safety playing force here who steps up, but he's got now two pulling blockers coming toward him in Snow and Johnson, and that's not a good matchup for him. So he actually is able to work off of Snow's block. Then Johnson makes a great block on him. And so Johnson's athleticism is starting to translate into being a good blocker. You can see when he's under control there, he's able to control people in space. And before he was just coming into his blocks a little bit out of control and not able to always make contact. Now he's always making contact and he's winning those blocks. The other thing I just wanted to comment on was Whitaker's work in the Wildcat has really translated him to reading blocks better in general. Seeing things from that position and having to make a decision on a consistent basis on where to go with the ball has translated into great things for his game. We're seeing that in his normal running back roles, in the Wildcat, and also in him returning kicks. So it's paid huge dividends for our team. Something to think about going forward, playing in an offense where you're required to make consistent reads as a running back rather than just finding a hole translates into great things long term as far as decision making from the running back position. So here's a few plays later in that same drive. David Ash up to this point has not shown a great ability to read the defense and go through a progression, but he does bring some tools to the table that are important long term. Here I thought he showed really good pocket awareness. He stuck with the pocket and tried to make a read. Didn't like what he saw here initially, and the pocket starts to break down, and he takes off and extends this play. See, he tucks the ball, so he's protecting the ball as he moves, but then as this corner comes up to pressure him, he transitions back into a passing mode. He's able to complete the pass for the first down here in the red zone. It's a huge play from the quarterback position if we just look at it again from his perspective. So he's looking downfield. He checks two spots in his progression there and comes back to the left side. He doesn't see anything. Pocket's breaking down. He gets out of there. That draws attention from the corner, and then he makes the defense pay for coming up to pressure. So, he definitely has cost us a lot in terms of, some of the mistakes that he's made at this early stage. He's still turning the ball over a lot, but you can see some promise long-term from him there. Some huge upside, really, in his ability to pressure the defense in a situation like that and make a play. So we play a few plays later in the red zone, and we go with kind of a burst concept here. where we transition into a wildcat from a normal shotgun set. We run wildcat with Brown here. I'm sure we'll see more of that because we have the ability to transition to that, from our normal sets with Brown in the backfield. This play probably works, except for we get 2 blocks on the play side that fail, seal blocks on this flex concept. Jones loses his battle with his defensive end, and he just gets torn to the ground here. Again, when he seals, rather than trying to base block, I'd really prefer to see him try to take positioning to the outside a little bit. He can give up a little inside penetration if that defensive end starts to try to get inside, and he has the ability to ride him down the line. But if he tries to base block, then he has the defensive end, a stronger defensive end, is going to be able to shed him a lot easier, like what happens here. Irby just kind of whiffs on his block here in space, and he just takes too wide of an angle on this block that he's trying to get to. He lines up with outside leverage, so he just needs to take advantage of that, come under control, and make sure he doesn't miss his assignment. Instead, he gets a little bit too aggressive here, has to try to cut at the last second, and misses his assignment. So it leaves those 2 guys free to come down the line and take away Brown's running lane to the end zone. The one thing I would say here, it's not a bad play call, but I would have preferred to see us go a little bit more with what was working so well in the game, and that was 12 and 21 personnel and running right at Oklahoma State. We had a lot of success running both sweeps, backside cuts on inside zones, and concepts off of the jet sweeps. So it would have been interesting to see more of that in the red zone that we called, because I feel like that we were having a lot of success there.